Okay, guys, Eric here, and I wanted to do a follow up to my video on Mr. George Edward Moore, or G.E. Moore, because some interesting conversation followed from that. And given that it's actually my most popular video so far, I thought adding this addendum, adding like probably the argument against him that I find the most obvious, actually, and I just forgot to mention it. I just failed to talk about it. Well, I thought I'd bring it here, so add this addendum to that video. So, to me, this error is just, I don't know, it's just so obvious that I guess I didn't bother. I just didn't think that it was worth mentioning, and I think that the times that I pause after giving this after giving the argument of, here is a hand, here's another, uh, you know, therefore two objects must exist in the external world, and therefore an external world exists. That is basically G.E. Moore's actual argument. Like to me, the ridiculousness of this argument is just so obvious that I just pretty much said that. Like, look how dumb this argument is, and kind of just expected it to intuitively register. Well, the reason for this is like I said, I just forgot to mention the most relevant part of this, and the most relevant part of these that's like makes this obviously a bad argument is that the the sentence "here is a hand" confuses two meanings of the word "is." Now, the word "is" in English is a very is sort of a famously ambiguous word in the philosophy of language. In fact, there even hit some mainstream appeal over the ambiguity of this word, where people for a while started trying to write and speak in a language called E prime, which is English prime, and all that E prime does is remove the word "is." That you're just not allowed to use that word. You have to find alternative ways. You have to translate your sentences into another form instead of using the form "is." That's what E prime was. I think E prime just doesn't like. Sure, it's good, I guess, that you're trying to get rid of this ambiguity of using the word "is," but I don't think it goes far enough. Like, it doesn't solve the problem because there's a lot of other ambiguities in the English language, and in fact, in all natural languages, uh, that words are just ambiguous. You haven't really solved the problem. You've just solved one part of it. But anyways, the problem with the sense is that the word is ambiguous in it, because when G.E. Moore says, "Here is a hand," like if you like the alternative translation of that could be taken in two different ways. It could mean like empirically or perceptively of "I perceive a hand," but the sentence could also mean that here is a hand could also mean like here's this actual object of a hand in a real world. It could have a sort of metaphysical meaning to it or ontological meaning to it. And what G.E. Moore does when he says "here is a hand," therefore, there's at least one object in the external world, and therefore, I know that there's an external world. What he's doing is he's making a leap from this between the two meanings of this sentence. He's making a leap from "I perceive a hand" to "here is a hand in the external world," or this hand. He, man, I'm struggling to not use the word "is" in my sentence here. I think you can do it though. It doesn't matter. Like you can see how the sentence has these two different meanings, and what G.E. Moore is doing is he's leaping from one meaning to the other, and taking them as being like synonymous, as taking this to be an unambiguous sentence, but it's not unambiguous. And in fact, the very ambiguity contained in the sentence is the very problem that philosophers have been struggling with. That whether our perceptions, that the phenomena of the hand has anything to do with any sort of noumenon, any sort of thing in itself that exists as an object independent of any perception of it. So it's I just wanted to mention this. I just wanted to add this addendum because to me this is like the most uh to me it was just so obvious that's like I didn't even really think about breaking it down like this, but apparently I missed an opportunity. So this is my addendum. This is my addendum to G.E. Moore. I think this is like maybe the worst argument a philosopher's ever made, to be honest. I still do not understand why Morean shifts are taken seriously. Um, at the risk of bad form, because usually psychologizing among philosophers or intellectuals in this way is generally bad form. But I sort of suspect that this desire to hold on to realism, to hold on to the idea of an external world, or that objects or even concepts, in the case of like Plato and whatnot, are like real things. Um, I really suspect that there's just like this attachment, that this sort of psychological obsession, that this sort of inability to just let go of the idea of things. Just that there's no way to go from perception to reality. You just can't. And I just see it. I just see the persistence of this problem being like kind of psychological, to be honest. So I see this as just a terrible argument. I think here is a hand is just, I don't see how serious people could ever take this could ever take this argument seriously. It's bad. So it confuses the two terms. It's an ambiguous sentence because G.E. Moore goes from, here's the appearance of a hand to here is an actual hand. But like it could mean either of these two things, and G.E. Moore just jumps between them as if they're the same thing without really justifying that leap. So there you go. Thanks for joining me. If you like this content, I like it when you like it, and I like it when you subscribe to it. So do that.